How do I address you, Mr. Yu Chong Lee?
Yao. You can call me
Yao.
Yao or
Okay.
Chong Lee.
Yao,
So I
Yeah.
call you
Okay.
Yao, yeah?
Chong,
Yeah,
Yao.
Mr.
cool.
Chong Lee.
Chong is fine too.
Chong is fine
Chong.
too, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome to our ROMBAK Roundtable Talk. I'm Diana, your moderator for today, and I am here humbly with five speakers today. Our very first is Mr. Chong, a filmmaker, a lecturer from Faculty of Applied Art in Unimas. We also have Ghazi, a filmmaker, a lecturer in Faculty in Cinematic Arts in MMU. We have Azman, Mr. Azman, a professional voice actor, the voice of General Rama in Agent Ali, and also part of the Bobo Boy animation and voice actor crew. We have Mr. Sireh, or Mr. Anuar,
Hi,
sorry, as the cartoonist,
Ken
also the
also.
lecturer in MMU. Last but not least, we have Dr. Vimala, a filmmaker and also a senior lecturer in MMU. Thank you for joining today's session. How are you guys?
Awesome.
Cool.
Good.
Thank
Cool.
you. Thank you for having
Good, good.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, so I'll just get it straight right in with something easy. Okay, so complete this sentence: I am or was an art academician because.
Wow.
In no particular order.
No
Anyone
particular
can start.
order. And that was specifically for you,
Was
Azman.
it specifically for me?
All right.
What was the sentence again?
I am or I was an art academician because,
Okay. Who wants to start?
simply to say, why do you start teaching?
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
I suppose since I opened my mouth, I can start talking, I guess. Um,
Because this is my destiny.
yeah. Okay. Hey, my name is Azman. I was an art academician simply because, okay, simply because first, I wanted to pay off my scholarship. Second, second because there wasn't any established animation studio back in those days, so I thought
Mhm.
maybe I could just I can still practice it on the side and teach it because I was already practicing it, and I thought I could just share it as many knowledge as I could back in when I first started. And there you go. I think it just started from A, because I had to pay off my scholarship, and second, because I still wanted to do this, teach, and at the same time learn as I go, because it's an ongoing thing. So even if I wanted to say I was an art academician, I could still say that I am still an art academician because I still teach on the side. I still teach voice acting and stuff like that.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else would like to add to that? Like, is this a spark on why you started teaching? I mean, can I ask specifically, Ghazi? You have like directed a long list of films and been nominated, been awarded in some of the film festival. I mean, I feel among all of us here, I feel that you must be one of the person that miss going back to the industry full time. So, what do you see in the industry? What do you see in the academic world that kept you going, that kept you being
Uh,
a lecturer?
I think this is my first time with Multimedia University. Is my first full-time job as an academician. Previously, I've been doing half part-timing and half in the industry. I think for me, when I returned from Europe after doing my masters, I find that there's a heavy responsibility because I was selected into this program. Only 10 students were accepted to be mentored by this Hungarian maestro called Belata, and I was the only one from Southeast Asia. So when I returned back, I see I was in the industry for 2 years, and then I find that slowly whatever I've learned is slowly fading away because film language is always I work in the industry. It's in the commercial industry. I've learned something more independent art house. So I wanted to, before everything disappear, I wanted to. I'm the only Southeast Asian, and I wanted to at least leave a little bit to some students. So that's why I decided to take a full-time job, and I at least before I forget, I'll pass the knowledge to my students lah.
I see. You want to leave a legacy.
Not legacy, but I guess before I forget. Yeah.
Okay. How about
That's
Mr.
that's
Chong?
a good answer.
You came all the way from Unimas. I mean, what attracted you to go all the way there? Are you originally from Sarawak to begin with, or you?
Thank you for the question. I'm not from Sarawak, but I have been here for almost 10 years. I love to be here. I think Sarawak has so much to offer, be it the people, the cultures, the environment per se. So I can actually explore with what I'm working on at the moment. I can actually explore a lot of things around me, like traveling to meet people, making film about them, a documentary, for examples. I think teachings allowed me as a path to learn a lot of things about others and myself. So it's not only learning about others, but also about myself. It kind of like rewarding at the same time, because we are being paid to learn and at the same time share with others. So I think it's always why I say rewarding, because after 10 years of teaching, sometimes later you will be seeing some students out there and they come back to you, hey, Mr. Yao, oh, you still remember me? I was your student, and I'm, oh yeah, hi. Then what are you working on right now? I'm working in TVS now. Like, I'm working in TV, or I'm working for the film now. So it's like, wow. After 10 years of teaching, you'll be seeing a lot of students. They are out there,
Yeah.
making their life out there, and hopefully bringing goods to others too.
I think that's kind of like one of the best thing about being a teacher. Like, you're saying that you've been teaching for 10 years, and then suddenly you're meeting the students, former students of yours. You might not remember their name, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, I remember your face. What are you working on now? And then you're like,
That's
oh, you're
true.
doing this,
That's very
awesome.
true.
That's great.
I agree with it.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Like I
Yeah.
used to be Dr. Vim's student. I don't know if she still recognized me when I when I started off. Like,
I do. I love
Yeah.
so it's a beautiful
I-
thing, I guess, the relationship that you carry on
Very true.
after the students actually graduate and progress in their lives afterwards. I mean, can I just point this next question maybe
Yeah.
to Dr. Vim?
Yeah.
Okay, so why I'm an art educator?
Mm.
Okay, to be honest, never in my life that I thought I'd be an art educator. Okay, teaching was not my career option, I would say. So when I was studying, I started to build my network with the film industry. So that was back in year 2002. So I used to volunteer myself to work as a production assistant in independent film production. So that's where I started my interest in filmmaking. So once I graduated in 2004, I was offered as a tutor to join the faculty. So at that time, I was like, mm, of course I'm blessed because I was offered a job. So then I joined. But at first, when I joined as an academician, I had this sense of loss of identity, and I was confused. It's like, am I at the right place? Am I doing the right thing? Then eventually, being an academician, you have certain criteria that you have to fulfill. You have to do research, and then you have to do your master as part of your what do we call that, your contract. So I was like, okay. Then I started to slowly adapt, and then eventually, you get a sense of development and satisfaction in what you're doing. So in this sense, I think I must thank the people around me. I have a beautiful team back in MMU. I have a very, very nice, very wise supervisor to guide me, who actually inspired me, I would say. More than he supervising me, he was basically motivating me, and he was giving me a guideline and facilitate me. He was like an inspiration. So I kind of feel like, okay. And he told me that you are in a very unique position, you are like a bridge. It's sort of like a bridging the cultural gap between the academia and the industry. So it's like a gatekeeper. So I feel like, okay, I didn't understand at that time what he was saying. No, it was too deep. So I was like, okay. So I just continued with my master. I was just I just go with the flow. And now I've been with MMU for 17 years. So I feel like this teaching is it's something that I love to do, and flow making is something that I'm passionate about. So I feel like the bridge there is like you kind of when you come back to the university, you share your experiences with the students, and sometimes the students inspired me in my teaching, and
Mhm.
it keeps me alive. That's what I love about being an art educator.
Cool.
Very nicely
Very
answered.
nice.
Yeah. How about Mr. Anwar, or
Yeah.
better known as Sire?
Yeah.
Uh,
All right.
what is your
Okay.
opinion on this?
Yeah. Why am I being art educator? All right. All right. Okay. Back in the days where I'm a comic artist. Okay. Back in the days, I started doing drawing comics since I was in high school. All right. At that time, that's the only thing that I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. Okay. It's like that's my blood. That's my passions there. But because of that, I have the opportunity to pursue, okay, of course, being a comic artist. Your parent will not approve, okay, not approve of it because the future is, not so sure about it, okay, about the future. So what they do, okay, you can be, comic artist, but you must study, okay, you must learn, you must have the knowledge, okay, you must have something that some approval, some recognitions, okay, before you pursue with your dream. Then after that I further my study in fine arts, and then I pursue, okay, got the opportunity to do a scholarship in in animations. Then I back got 2 years working in the animation industry, and then 6 years working in in the publications comic, which I enjoy very much. It was a hectic life, okay, and up until the time where I realized that the market was shrinking. Okay, the market was shrinking, the comic market was shrinking, and then I think at that time, because I have the experience, I think, okay, I think this is time that I want to study the phenomena. I want to pursue, okay, my masters, and then I think I have a okay. I was lucky. I have a friends who teaching here in MMU, and I asked about how about teaching. Okay, during those time, I only willing to spend like 2 or 3 years in MMU, just become a lecturer, finish my master, come back to industry. Okay, but then up until 2004, up until now, to more than 15 years, I'm stuck with the teaching. I enjoyed very much. Okay, the part of the pleasure is looking at how the student evolve, how the student, how they have become somebody in the industry, how some of the knowledge that they gathered, okay, I may have a little bit of contributions there. So I think, but I still not, it's still not stopping me from practice, okay, my skill, my talent, okay, I still have a column in the newspaper, in the magazines, okay, and sometimes they also asking me to do some projects. Okay, the first in the earlier stage, I think I also think that, oh, am I allowed to do this? I'm a lecturer here. Okay, is there outside job? But then later on, I discovered that whatever I gain, whatever the knowledge that I get when I do the practicing, I contribute it back to my student. Okay, I share all the experience. Okay, whatever syllabus that we have to teach the student, I know how to customize it with what the industry needs. Okay, I think that's the advantage of those who, because most of the students that we produce, okay, when they going out at the degree level, they have to practice what they know. Okay, unless they want to pursue, they want to join the academic, they have to do a master degree research as well. But for up until degree level, they need to master the skill and need to practice, okay, their skill that we taught. So I believe whatever whatever thing that I learned from the practice part of the thing that I do, it also contribute back to some of the knowledge. Okay, so sometimes the student love to know why they have to learn this. Okay, when we're in the industry, we know. Okay, you have to learn this because this is what they expect you to deliver when you completing the project. If you're not up to that certain benchmark, okay, you are in trouble. So you will miss. You miss a lot of opportunities, a lot of a lot of uh, people not happy with your product. So this is the thing that I believe. Okay, we as a practitioner have a certain kind of contributions to the academic, right? So that's for me.
Just
Right.
to add on, Mr. Anuar used to teach me, and then we became colleagues, and then we still have a good working
I'm proud of
relationship.
you.
Yeah, thanks,
I'm
man.
proud of you,
Yeah,
Osman.
and you still invite me over to your class, which is
Yeah.
super awesome.
Uh,
That is
okay.
a great answer. Just to refer back to what Mr. Sire has mentioned, yes. So we as creative practitioners, we need to stay relevant
Yeah.
to the industry. And I think what I feel is that we need to practice. That's just it, right? We need to keep on practicing. So, I mean, right now, as a academician, art academician, how do you actually, balance that up? Since you transition from a someone who practice probably full time now to practice and teaching. So I'm amazed, like the kind of work that all of you produce, and yet still teaching on the bigger chunk of the load, and doing paper and research, but we'll get to that. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, how do you balance, how all of you balance practicing and teaching?
Or okay, may I answer that? Okay, for me, it's come with passions. Okay, if you enjoy doing it, it doesn't matter. Okay, you can stay up until late night. Okay, doing things. It's like some of the release, okay, like a therapy for you to know for all the burden of all the research or all the assignment that you need to deliver for the university. That's for me. I believe that for me, I treated all the drawings, all the cartoons, all the comics that I did apart from the teaching is some kind of therapy. I still draw every day. I still draw every day.
Mm.
I know if like say I miss drawing for for quite longer period of time, I had a headache. I don't know why. Sakit kepala. Yeah, like I'm missing something. Like I don't know what the purpose I'm living if I don't draw.
It's part of
Right.
your life now, isn't it?
Right. So yeah, that's for me. If you for me, if you having fun doing it, okay, either it's hard work or it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me anymore. Right.
Nice. Anyone else would like to answer? Maybe Mr. Chong?
Um, I think being an academician is actually we kind of need to do a lot of things with the demand at the moment. When I was about to join as an academician, I was about to apply for that job. My former lecturer did remind me about, like, he asked me, "Do you really want to be a lecturer?" Uh, he told me when he was about to be a lecturer, the jobs or the demand at that time was not so much demanding. You just need to go and teach, and there will be tutor helping you to even taking attendance and putting in marks for you. But now we are kind of like doing everything ourselves. So he also reminded me, you need to remember when you become a lecturer later, you are not only teaching, you need to do research, you need to do publications, you need to probably engage in communities and contribute to so many other things. And even now, we are asked to look for money for the university. So, in a very short terms, our jobs now are very much got a lot to do with almost everything that you can think of under the sky. So, well, how can we do that? I guess we really need to know and understand the system. And I mean, it's no use for us to blame on this upon the system. As long as you understand this is the requirement of the system, then how can you make sure what you are doing actually bringing meanings to you, at the same time also bring a lot of other benefits to the system per se. So when you can achieve that kind of level, which I'm still learning on how to do that, then I think it's fulfilling in that sense.
All right. Thank you very much. Um, Mr. Ghazi, I mean, as a filmmaker, I'm curious
Yes.
because filmmaking is something like the whole process of it requires
Mm,
a lot, right?
Mm, mm,
It's
mm.
not just,
can be.
sitting down and decided, okay, what should I do today? It's the whole the whole entire process could take months. Then
It's
how
not
do you
just sitting down and say action.
yeah, I mean, how do you balance? I mean,
Yeah.
Mm.
I
being
think for me, it's. I mean, you sign up as an academician. You are answerable to a lot of things, and you're also answerable to not only to your student, to other
Mm.
stakeholders such as the
Yeah,
industry.
true.
And I strongly believe that it's what is a creative school if the creative practitioners themselves don't practice. And being creative itself is, for me, at least for myself, is a language. And if you don't practice a language, it will die off. And it's something that I remind my students, even as much as, like, after you graduate, just looking at outside your window, you need to constantly, formulate, observe something, because once you stop doing it, you will fail.
Yeah.
Whatever you've learned for 3 years will fail. And same goes to us as academicians. I think that if we stop doing that, whatever we preach to our student will be redundant. And we also need to keep up to the industry, because if I leave the industry for 10 years and then I keep preaching the same system, we need to understand that the industry evolve. As simple as that. And the students can't be learning what the industry had for 10 years ago. And I believe it's for this, for from drawing to film to new medias, everything evolves. So I guess there is a need. Before I sign up, I know that when I entered in this academician, I need to do both. If not, I will not be relevant to both.
I see. Thank you for your answer. Um, Mr. Azman or Dr. Vim, would you like to, add probably your
I
thoughts
could
on
I
this?
could add a bit
Yeah.
because when I joined MMU to teach, right? I think the big differences between me and Mr. Yao, he had his former lecturer saying, "Are you sure you want to do this?" When I talked to one of my former lecturer, he was like, "Hey, I was thinking of teaching." He was like, "Yeah, sure, join in." No one told me about what's going to happen later on, but I think one of the best thing about teaching is the fact that I could explore what else is happening in the industry. And then when you're finding out about this new visual style, new look, and then you want to try to apply it technically, because I teach a lot of technical stuff like 3D modeling and stuff like that. So you want to find out how do these guys do it, and I would find out how to do it. I would try to problem solve it, and then I will be able to share it with my students. So I think a lot of things were our ability to be aware of the new trends, the new visual style in animation, and then you will go like, okay, how did they do it? And then you will, and I think we're also blessed to have like a hardworking coworkers as well, my colleagues, and everyone was like trying to find out, and then you would share all these information, and then you would end up sharing it with your students. And I think, and in my case, I grew up watching lots of cartoons, and then and I still do. And then you would find out how I think Ghazi said how things evolved over the years, and then you can see it if you are aware of how things change, and then you are aware of it, and then you can actually share all these changes. How and 5 years ago and 10 years ago is totally different as far as the working pipeline is concerned, as far as animation is concerned. So the work culture is different as well. So I think by being an academic, uh, being an academic, when I was in an academic, I was able to explore a lot of things. So I think that was one way to stay relevant. And also, I was also doing my voice acting gig on the side, so I was able to, meet people from the advertising agencies, the advertising industry. So you would find out how these guys evolve as well. So to be able to meet different people helped me a lot as an academician and as an artist as well. Yeah. and then
Yeah,
from there you'll be able to share it with your students. And I
Mm.
am still teaching on the side, and I'm still able to share it with them as well.
that's nice. That's nice. That's very nice. I feel like this position as an art academician goes hand in hand with you practicing the current and delivering it and sharing it with your student, and it's a process that it's never ending, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always updating, like your iPhones, I guess. It's keep on having new stuff every single year.
Look,
Yeah.
as long as you're living, you just keep on learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
can I add on to that, Diana?
Yes, yes,
I think
yes.
all of us share the one thing, which is like we do what we love and we love what we do. So I think that keeps us moving. And actually,
Right.
along the line, I came to realization that the world of practice serves as a center point of the academic compass. So whereby the problematic industry issues are being addressed through the academic research, and it's vice versa. So I think this is something which is beautiful, being an academician at the same time being a practitioner.
I see. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Vim.
If I may add also,
Yes, please,
I
Dr. Vim.
think I think being an academician is we are given this kind of like non-partisan kind of positions. We are observer ourselves at the same time. We are observing what happened in the industry, and we want to be up to date with what is happening in the industry. Not necessarily got to do with technology. It can be part of it, but you see, we observe what is happening. Probably people were talking about is film association needed now. So we can organize, for example, an webinar by inviting people from the industry to discuss about this. Is film association still relevant today?
Mm.
And that will be somehow also benefiting our students and the general publics and also the filmmakers themselves, because by addressing this issue during COVID-19, people were talking, hey, maybe we don't need to pay so much fee for joining the film association nowadays. So we ourselves as academician, we are given this non-partisan role to observe things and also be part of it, and probably instigate some kind of discussion, discourse about things, and that also be good for us and many people,
Great.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I totally agree with what Mr. Chong
Yeah.
said, because when I was doing my PhD, one thing that I realized is that you gotta love your PhD, because it's like 5 to 7 years of journey of doing that. You better love
True.
it, or else I don't know how we can complete it. So it's like
Yeah.
something is driving you, like you see the problem in the industry, you're curious, you want to know further. So this academic research is basically helping you to address the issue. So
Mm.
that's how I started my journey in PhD. And, of course, it was a very long journey, because at the same time I was doing my film, until one point the supervisor came and told me, you better stop making your movies or stop making your babies, because I got married at that time. Continue with
Oh no.
PhD. So I was like, okay. But something that I want to share is that
Yeah.
we know we can see the problem there in the industry, that you are so curious and you
Yes.
want to you want to find out how.
Yeah.
So that's something beautiful about this,
Yes. Yes.
academia world and also the
Yeah.
industry.
Right.
Right. Thank
Oh,
you.
cool.
I just like to take the next question and ask Dr. Vim. I mean,
Oh my god.
um,
Oh my god.
I have to point out, like, I mean, how does it feel to be the only one here with a PhD? I mean,
Oh no, I shouldn't have shared my experience.
how was the struggle? Was it worthwhile? I
Right.
mean, I know that you successfully obtained your PhD under the same field that you're working with, which is film production itself, and to be practicing it and also doing your PhD. So how was it? How was
Mm.
I mean, this could be an insight for all of us here, because I guess all of us are required to actually
Yeah.
enroll further for our PhD. So I guess some insights would help.
Okay, just my humble sharing. Actually, when I first started the PhD, of course, it's part of the requirement being an academician, right? So when I started the journey, I was not able to focus at first, like what are the problems, or when you want to do a research, you need a problem, a problem to be, you need a problem statement. So I took quite some time to find the problem statement. So while I was practicing, what happened is that I used to see at that time, there were a lot of production that failed to complete, and I've also been to a production whereby, you can see a chair flying from one end to the other end, a fight in the production, and, a lot of communication problem in the production. And, producer and the director fights, and the production stop halfway, and we have to wrap halfway and go back. So this sort of problems was very, how to say, was very disturbing to me at that time. It's like, how some so I start to question myself, like, how certain production, they are so successful, and they are independent production, they are not funded by big companies, they are not they are not backed up by mainstream studios, how they can be so successful. So I was just curious, and I want to know how this production actually works. So that's how I started my PhD journey. So I started to study how these crew members in a film production, they work among each other, and how they can make such a successful films. So that was my PhD study at that time. And along the line, what I studied, it was like, what I learned as a filmmaker is that, beside the creative part, beside the creativity, right, beside writing a story and so on, one of the hardest part, or the most challenging part in filmmaking, is actually managing the human being in the set.
Yeah.
Because being a director, you have to communicate with your producer, you have to communicate with your, your technical department, your cinematographer, and then your art director, your actor, and you become the, middle person between the tech team and your actor. Sometimes it's so complex, and that human communication become like the integral part of a film production,
Right.
And I realized, like, okay, it's very, very, very tough. So that's when I started to, like, I want to know how we can manage this in a set, and I was telling my husband, I was like, oh my God, I think I can sit and write a story peacefully than when you're on a set handling so many people. So when I started to do my PhD along this line, it moved concurrently, it's like simultaneously I was doing both. So I'm practicing, I want to know further, and at the same time I was doing my PhD. But of course, I took 2 years off from filmmaking just to sit and write that. Because writing PhD, it's like an academic writing. It's not like writing a story, or you're writing a script.
Yeah.
It is definitely not. So academic writing is totally different. So like I said, my supervisor got so pissed off, and she told me, you either stop making babies or stop making movies and do your PhD and complete it. So I took that as a challenge, and I stopped my filmmaking for 2 years and
Oh dear.
concentrate on my
Yeah.
PhD to write.
Yeah.
So, and of course it was tough because it was like, you have to learn all the research methodology, the research design, how to do statistic, how to do, transcribe all these into you have, the analyses and so on. I audited so many classes, I audited so many courses just to finish that PhD.
Yeah. I really understand the problem. Sometimes I can just simply write 10 pages of comics, in a
Yes.
week, but it took like months to complete the
Yes.
research paper, because not just because it's hard, but because we need to understand the process, the
Yes.
methodology, all the questions, and how to fit in with all the citations. Wow, it's
Yep.
very, very tough. And
And
it's not that if you are skillful, like say you are get used to it, I think it's not a problem. But because of we are different set of skill that we have,
yes.
that there's something that we not really enjoy. I believe art, most of the artists, they appreciate their freedom. Okay, when you write and you have to follow certain kind of structure, certain kind of limitation, certain kind of all these things, it makes it slow you down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I feel when I do the research. Uh,
But that's super inspirational, Vimala. That's awesome.
Yes,
Your
we
journey.
shall rewatch the recording whenever we when we start to write our proposal.
yeah.
Um, I shall move to the next question since
Alright.
we're talking about research, right?
Alright.
I feel that the system that we have
Right.
today, especially in recording the creative works, okay, um, I feel it's a template or um, a mold that is only applicable to the STEM related subjects,
Yeah.
more like engineering, more like science, right? Which I feel it sidelines a bit the creative programs because how do you actually measure art, right? So my question is, shouldn't art be more of what you practice? And I feel since we are venturing into research, what are the pros and cons of doing research then?
Hmm. So I think Mr. Ghazi.
I feel like Mr. Ghazi is like, I want to answer this. Okay.
It's a very difficult question.
It is,
That's why
but
I passed to
this,
you.
this is well, we can start first by I mean, shouldn't art be more of what you practice? I mean, let's just start with
Mm,
that one first. Easier. Hmm?
yes.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, I think I have to say that I admire Dr. V for her effort in finding the balance between film production and also being a researcher. As for me, I've tried my best. I've attended courses. You asked me to write for a month versus you asked me to make films for 1 year feature film. I'd rather take the 1 year stress rather than 1 month. And I think as much as I said earlier, like the practicing, to me, making films, whether it's making films, being creative, drawing, animation, itself, the act of doing itself is research in our own way, because when we put it out, there's also peer reviews, there's festival reviews and etc. We never know whether our work is going to be accepted, or there must be there might be changes and etc. So I've always feel that there might be a possibility to uh, churn out some way of or a committee to review creative work, and I won't say put on par or equivalent to research, because being creative and research is two different things. It's you can't even compare, because I did talk to my colleague who's a researcher, and he was trying to find the balance between writing one paper versus making one what they call a feature film. And I said you cannot put them side by side, because it's two different
Different skill
field.
set.
It's schools different skill set.
Yeah.
But I strongly believe that we shouldn't compare, but we should try to place a certain sense of recognition to creative, because some practitioners, we are hired to as academicians to constantly practice and also share our practice journey with the students. And if we can do some sense of appreciation or a recognition, I think there's a balance between the strength of the university in research and also culture.
Mm,
Yeah.
right. I feel like the the word research is somehow doesn't belong to our field, like the art and creative field. Since Ghazi, you mentioned, doing producing a feature film is it's not it's it's not something comparable to writing a chapter, writing a book, right? I mean, then so is it safe to say that I mean we should be more how to say measured in that sense rather than producing more research? I mean, why? What's the pros and cons of doing research? From
Okay, I just want to add to this. All right, it's a different kind of research. All right, even though we are producing art or visuals or films or any creative works, it required research also. Okay, but the outcome is different. The outcome is our art or
Yeah.
our creations. All right? Our outcome is different from the outcome that being that being assigned to the researchers in academics. All right. Let's say if I want to produce a comics or a story, I want to talk about the social issues. All right, that happens in Malaysia recently. Okay, what should I do? I have to make sure that I understand. Okay, what's the situation? Have to dig out. Okay, all the information. Okay, if you want to make your the contents more deep, I have to have to understand. Okay, I have to maybe do a question. Okay, asking all this kind is the methods is similar to the academic research, but the outcome is different. Okay, we don't have to answer. Okay, there's no there's no what they call the conclusions to it. Sometimes our outcome is more like a questions rather than answer to all the tasks that been given to us.
Down to
So
interpretation.
based on interpretation, correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's like when we are I don't know I know there's many ways of doing research. Okay, in in the passion, but we some of us there's a studio based research, ontology. All right, there's a different kind research which we have to look at which suits us best.
Mm.
But anyways, based on the first start when I don't understand what research is about, it's like I'm good at swimming, but I have to race with those who are very good in running. So it's like a two
Mm.
different skill set that I have to race.
Mm.
All right, something that I feel when I don't really understand what the research in academic field is all about. I thought that when you publish your work in the magazine, it's called publications. No, it's a creative publication, and the
Yeah.
point is very small.
Mm.
So yeah, I think I'm still learning. Okay, I need people to to guide me. In fact, I have a basic understanding of research while doing my masters. Okay, while doing one or two papers. But after that, you know, the only thing that I do is if to to fill up my KPI. Okay, if they say, oh, this year you have to fill up two or three papers, that's what I do. There's no passion for me to do more. All right. So
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
but apart from the research paper that we need to complete for our KPI, I know that's something that they don't ask me to do, but I do it just because of I enjoy doing it. Like I know Mr. Ghazi of Vimala, you may do films, but I publish books, comic book. I publish my cartoon, my visuals. I join exhibitions. Okay, and that I'm gladly there's some small category in our KPI that I can fill into that,
Mm.
and I think in university it may carry some minor point for me to get. But uh, to be honest, in the industry, people look at it. Okay, people look at it. I've been there's sometimes people invite me to give talks or become a panel for MDAC just because of all
Mm.
the work that I've done, the validations that the recognition that I get from based on the producing. Okay, all the creative work that being exhibited or being published. Okay, not as an academic, but as a creative books or creative writing.
Mm.
So
If
that's
I
how
may
I
add,
balance
yeah,
it up.
yeah.
Yes,
If I
please.
may add to Anwar's
Yeah.
point, is that there is a certain degree of research in any creative output.
Yeah.
If just my opinion,
Yeah.
if you don't have any point research being put into it, I think it's just one of those self-indulgent sort of work. It's a
Mhm.
short and needy sort of area,
Yeah.
because if I were able to use that term research, I mean, in my work today as a voice actor, there is a certain degree of research being put into my work. I mean, let's say if I have to go for an audition, there is a certain degree of research I have to put into, let's say they have like certain requirements for the characters that I'm voicing. So I have to do some research on what this voice is all about, maybe some accents that I have to study before even going into the whole performance bit. And then Anwar made a great example of, looking at the social commentary of what's happening in our country, in other countries. And I was lucky to be involved with Ernest Ung when he did COVID Ball Z. So that is a very political content, right? So, but it's fun, made in a fun way. He studied what's happening in our country, and then we made a very fun slash
Mhm.
stupid slash silly animation out of it. And then we get to study a lot of things as a performer. I get to study how Trump talk. I get to study how some of our former prime minister talk, and then I would just apply whatever that I researched on into my performance. So I think that's the fun part. And then you look at the output, and people will say, "Hey, that guy sound like Trump. Hey, that guy sound like that guy." So that's, I think there is a certain degree of research being put into a creative work, because otherwise because you have to,
Mhm.
because otherwise it doesn't look like you're working. Yeah.
Yes, yes, Diana. Actually, what Ghazi, Azman, and Anwar said, right? It is very true because in any artwork, right, there is research involved.
Mhm.
Especially in filmmaking, right, Ghazi, like what he said just now. When we are writing a story, we do research. We have to research about the story, about the environment. If let's say you are talking about, a current, you're inspired by a real event or something, you have to do research on that. You have to study about the character. You have to develop the character. So, and you will go around and interviewing people. You will go around and sitting and do observation. So this kind of observation, interviewing, it's all part of a research work actually. It is research. It's just that we are not conforming to the
Mm.
traditional research way of doing. But we are doing research work. There's no artwork that just come out like that
Mhm.
without any research work.
Yeah.
We do research, but it's just that for a creative domain to sustain, I think they need certain kind of
Mhm.
reward to it,
Yeah.
or recognition. The reward can come in the form of monetary or a
Mhm.
recognition. So this is very important for the creative industry to sustain. So like what they said, the artwork should not be packaged or made to conform to a traditional research output. So this kind of creative output, right, actually it should be evaluated and rewarded on their merit as work of art without having to be reconceptualize it as a form of research output, the traditional research output. So like creative output, it should be accepted as equally valuable in the academy,
Yeah.
without the creative work being uh, without we as the art creator to reconceptualize or reformat it again and present it as a traditional research output. It should be that as a research itself. So there must be a mechanism so that you
Yeah.
know um, like I said, it should be for us to sustain. This is one kind of it's if it's not monetary, it should be recognized. So
Mm.
this kind of recognition will keep us moving.
Lovely, lovely points. I love what Dr. Vim just stated. We should not conform to the traditional academic style of publication, because I guess the way we value our work is not it's not the same. So
Mhm.
I would like to just point one question to talk to Mr. Chong. Um, I'm not too sure whether this is just happening in just some institution, or is it happening there in Unimas? Is it the same? Is the art creative design faculty there suffering the same thing, or you have tackled the problem differently?
Basically, we're in the same boat altogether. Probably
Mm,
that is the trend that all the university are facing at the moment. So I think a very good question to start with is we need to go back to the direction of our university or the institution that we are in. Let's say we are in the university, like university, most of the time they will demand things like research and publication because they really care about university ranking, particularly, the world university ranking, which demand a good quality research publication. Uh, as we know, research is a very much academic sense of scientific inquiry, which is very structured, method oriented, and to address question that you would like to answer in the end of your research that you can publish about scientifically. So it is super structured in that sense. Like you need to know how to write it properly so that it fulfill what is needed. Meanwhile, as we talk about the arts and films or the other part of music or any other things, they shall be come to a way that the research can be put equivalent to. So in my university, actually, we have discussed about on how to put it into equivalent. Let's say you have produced an artwork, let's say a film, a feature-length film, as a script writer or as a director. Can that be equal to internationally published journal paper? And so I think that had already put into discussions, but on our annual reappraisal, actually it is being recognized as point. But when come to the time that you are about to be promoted, that will not be considered much because they will still look into if you have published any journal paper or not in order for you to be considered for promotion. But for annual appraiser, like annual marks, SKT, they will still give you like probably 3 marks for one or 5 marks for one film publications or film that you produce with. So yeah, in my university we do struggle with this. So they recognize you in annual appraisal, but they don't really recognize you in the promotion part. So I guess we still have way to go, which we should, I think, more and more art lecturers in Malaysia should actually come into this for discussions so that because we don't have like engineering or medic, they have their own, how to call that, body, which govern them. And they have a set of things that you just need to comply to. But arts, we don't have that body that we can come together to discuss, like how are you going to evaluate your lecturers who can actually produce artwork. So I think we really need one so-called probably a bodies or something like that that can govern us, and we come together to decide how are we going to evaluate us as film lecturers or art lecturers. If everyone agree on, if you make a film, you should be given recognition of 5 points or 10 points in your appraisal and to be promoted, then all the university and colleges in Malaysia apply that. Yeah, I think we should talk about this in a bigger pictures, which I think is very much needed. But institution-wise, I think if we were to be taught as like, if I'm a practitioner, I want to continue do arts and to be recognized, probably we might also want to think maybe university is not the right place for us to go to. because university, after a long while, I also question myself, I felt that I'm here, but I am also needed to write, and also I need to teach, and I have to practice that what I'm preaching at the same time. So I'm thinking, am I suitable to be here? Sometimes I will question myself, am I suitable to be here? Should I actually go to maybe arts college like Aswara, for example, which focus very much on teaching and then practicing instead of publishing a paper? Probably a lot of universities are already moving towards that direction of publications, but I believe there are still some arts college or that prioritizing arts per se, they will not look into that. But I'm not sure if our Ministry of Higher Education are putting that as part of the demand. I have the feeling that that is actually part of the demands at the moment. So we are all struggle together. So I would come back to the suggestion. We need that particular body that we can come together to discuss and agree upon on things that we might want to adapt together.
All right, that's very interesting to know that. I mean, we're in the same boat, facing the same problem.
Yes, we are.
I just want to ask a question. Vim, have you attended the talk by Mr. Jai? Prof. Jalani Abu Hassan?
Oh,
I
Last
think
Professor.
last week, right?
last week, right? I
Mr.
think it's a very, he explained to us that okay, there's UITM also has certain kind of mechanics that they, let's say there's a the outcome for the research is like a performance. The outcome for the research for the films, like you say, is like doing a films. It's such a wonderful. And then he also tell apa tell us about he once of this recipient for Anugerah Academic Negara. All
Wow.
right, and he said that he doesn't do any research paper much,
Wow.
but he did a lot of exhibitions solo, and his works like he
He's a
did a lot
legend,
of
but it's more of a
his legend.
it's more of a
Yeah,
project-based research, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
what he's actually pushing.
that's project-based research. But so there's a time where they want to evaluate his his writings. Okay, it doesn't really follow the structure or the academic format. But what they did was they have to hire, okay, one of the professor from Wollongong University. I don't remember. Okay, for my me, and then she has to come and she evaluated him based on the
His work.
new methodology, okay, the new methods that he come up with. I mean, like it's quite interesting, but but he's up there already. People, okay, there's someone who have achieved a legendary status to make a change,
Mm.
rather than us, who have not been recognized yet and try to make changes. Maybe it's a different kind of effort that we need to do in order for us to achieve that.
Yeah,
I
actually,
think,
adding to that, I think now we also have, like if you want to do PhD by portfolio basis,
yeah,
or must, which is more on a practice-based research.
yeah.
They do have that kind of structure that we can
Hmm.
adapt to. However, I think when it comes to like what Prof Jai did, like he don't have to publish this and so on. I think that's something that is a privilege for him, because I think for us we still have to publish, right? It's like you still
And then
have
the way he
to pull
published work,
through.
not just a conventional publication, is that the way he published work is through through exhibitions.
Mm.
Okay, through his I mean, like there's a books about him, autobiography about him. All right, but all the documentation of his work. I think the way he published through exhibitions and talk about his exhibition is not is like a worldwide, internationally, okay, recognized all around the world. Kind of kind of exhibition. That's why people have to consider his achievement.
Mm.
Okay, if we just exhibit our work in local gallery and then want to take this, I think people will think that it's
Yeah.
not
People will
good enough.
question of the credibility of that
Okay, the
particular
credibility. All
exhibition.
right.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I think even like what Mr. Chong said just now, even in MMU we are quite blessed as well, because we do have like
Yeah.
our creative works are being recognized,
Yes.
in our KPI and also in our promotion and so on. However, I think it should be standardized on a national level.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's
Yes.
what I think we are all struggling to have that a policy on a national level
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
all the creative
Right.
educators.
Right.
Agree. So we're actually suffering from, the type of measurement that doesn't fit
Yeah.
for our field or
Yeah.
our area.
I mean, come on. If technologies and work, way of work changes over time,
Yeah.
then way of measurement should too. You
Yeah.
know?
True.
Yeah.
Uh,
I wonder, is it? I mean, since we're talking about it, and we're facing it nationwide. Is it more of how Malaysia or our country itself viewing art? Is it because we are not, how do I say this? Not up to par, not advancing yet, or are we not there yet where we evaluate art as the same par as science subjects? Are we a bit behind? Or I mean, it feels like we're not valuing art as what we all just discussed, right? So we need a body to govern. I mean, is it a problem that is faced
Right. The,
in
the
nature?
okay, the way I say it, right? Because we and as artists or practitioners, we used to practice, we used to have a freedom. We don't bother to write or structure our things, but this thing needs structure. Let's say we need people like maybe Dr. Vim, who already familiar with all the research method and how to structure all this creativity into some recognitions. And that I believe that what's um, Dr. Rupesh and Dr. Lim Kok Yong are doing right now. Try to find ways how to recognize, how to measure what thing that we've done. Okay, practice. I think we have to give applause to them. All right, because we're not saying that there's no way, but they are working on it, and I believe that some institutions already have. Okay, because there's a time where they're asking for us to look for the benchmark to see how we can evaluate, and certain university, other institutions also already have their the way they evaluate, like maybe one solo exhibition equivalent to one journal, or five group exhibitions equivalent to one journal. There's other university, but our university is not like our I mean like MMU. Okay, there's still not a very clear guidelines yet, but hopefully, with what Dr. Rupesh and Dr. Lims and all the teams are doing, so we're going to arrive there. Okay, soon. Right.
This is also great because I'm also learning current affairs because I left MMU in 2018. So this is a great update. Good for you guys.
Oh, on that note, Mr. Azman,
Yeah.
since you left the academic world, right? But
Oh, that's like I left. I mean, yeah. Okay, go
Hey,
on.
I invite Mr. Alqudcy to come, man, to give his view. Okay, he's also an
yeah,
academician.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, well, well,
and I do know you still come back to
Mhm.
panel as an invited guest,
yeah,
or an invited
yeah,
lecturer, or as panel. I mean, what's your take in this? I mean, as an outsider right now, looking
Mhm.
inside this
yeah.
fishbowl, you do you feel like a sense of relief? Like, I mean, you somewhat get the best of both worlds. Like, you get to practice and you get to come in as invited guest without
Yeah.
the
I
research
yeah.
part. I mean, how does it feel?
I think because when I was in academics, I mean, we're in that position where we have this access to know all these people who actually practice in the industry. So being in an animation, I get to meet all these people from the industry, and being a freelancer now because I'm not affiliated to any studios. I'm a freelancer, so that is also giving me the opportunity to get to know all these different studios that's working across the country, internationally even. So it's actually giving me this sort of like a bird's eye view of what's actually happening in at least in the voice acting industry, like how things are being run. So without having, when you're affiliated to a particular studio and then you want to talk to another studio, there's this sense of, why are you talking to me, you're from that studio. So being a freelancer give you this a neutral observation point, similar to being an academic. So you get to talk to the different studios as well. So, was it a relief? I don't know, because I still miss teaching. I still miss the academic world. Um, it's for me, uh, having you met different people, and then you sort of wish that things like like Vim, she does films. Ghazi, you do films. Like, it will be great for me as an outsider. I mean, if the university or the faculty could, or the academic world could look at these people, because they're teaching in a faculty of their respective field, and these people should be someone bigger than who they are right now. You know, like uh like a dean even. I don't know. So, because I get to meet people from other countries where, when they're studying, their professors are actually practitioners outside, and they're also teaching there as well. So I thought that was really cool. But for me, I actually don't remember your question anymore. But uh, but what was the question again? Just so that I can land back at that, on the landing strip.
I think you answered that already. I mean,
Okay, I
basically,
did. So
yeah,
I'm
you
glad.
did.
But what was the question again, so that I could just sedapkan hati.
So basically, when I mean, you used to teach, but you still come back, right,
Yeah, yeah.
to panel and
Mhm.
sometimes to lecture a few classes. Um, but you're not part of the institution whereby you're not required to do
Yeah.
publications. You don't have to attend conferences and
Mhm.
whatnot. So you're at that position where you get to still practice,
Yeah.
do voice acting,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to still teach.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're still doing both things, right?
Yeah.
Except for the
Except for the paperwork.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was that a relief? I don't know. I kind of missed that edge. Oh my God, I have to submit this by tomorrow. But I have to submit this paperwork by tomorrow. But was that a relief? I don't know. I mean, I still enjoy doing both. I mean, but the question of whether or not I will return to teach, I will just leave that question hanging for now, because right now I'm on a journey of my own. I'm on my own path. There's a certain objective that I wanted to achieve. But yeah, I mean,
Mm,
so I'm just in a position, in a great neutral position that I'm able to watch what's happening in the industry from a bird eye view, and then also in the academic world as well. Mainly because I'm still in contact with these lovely people. Yeah.
yes, yes. Thank you for sharing,
Mhm.
Azman. I think that's a good insight, because probably some of us, oh, I might need to continue my study. Should I quit? Should I just do it part time? And then you have that that thought, like maybe teaching is not for me. Maybe I should go back to practicing. But you're that person that could at least tell us how's it feel on the other end, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this next question, um, goes a lot involves the kind of work that you do while being a lecturer. So the question is, do you agree that as an academician, you should be allowed to practice the field that you are in without thinking the restrictions? Restrictions here, I mean like copyright issues, like whatever you do belongs to us a bit. So those kind of things. I mean, is it does it hinder you or does it limits you to go to do what you do best? Like, oh no, I'm a lecturer now, I'm an academician now, I need to like think the institution that I belong to, so I can only produce film 50%. I don't know. I mean, what's your take? What's your take? I'll I'll go to Ghazi because Ghazi is smiling dari tadi.
Uh, it's quite difficult. I think it's a very sensitive topic to all practitioners. But I perhaps may only answer from my field, filmmaking. Filmmaking is a very expensive hobby. It's not cheap. A short film can go from 20,000 to 80,000. What else? A feature film. So I've always felt that this is a struggle I deal with because the copyright or the ownership of the film usually goes to the person who pays. As simple as that. I think that person who pays, or we can call that investor, kind of owns it. So it's always a dilemma for me, a question, especially being hired. How do I balance this? Making big sum of money, films, not money, because making films, Dr. V, I'm not sure, but my side, I don't make much money, only enough to buy me lunch every day. Uh, but yeah, this whole 3 years I've been it's very new for me. I've been stuck in a place where I did not I don't dare to go for bigger projects because I didn't want to be uh dwelling with this, I won't say politics, but this thing that I'm stuck. I'm scared to face. So I tend to do more short films, something that is more for cultural purposes, where I do films that has less stakeholders or less investors lah. Just to make sure that I can represent both university and also the stakeholder. I would love to hear from Dr. V, who continue producing films. Yeah.
To be honest, Ghazi, I would love to be in your shoes. You know,
Right.
when you make a feature film, like, you know, like what Ghazi said, you want lesser stakeholders, you know, lesser investors and so on. Yes, it is very true, because uh, the lesser the people, you have more freedom to work. All right.
Mm.
So, but when you have more people who had invested in the particular project, you have more of you're obliged to follow certain, you know, things that are set by them. So the freedom become, the scale becomes smaller, right? So that's why I say I prefer to be like Ghazi actually. However, however, I'm doing film because partly because the producer is my husband, who's also the actor. So he's already been in the industry. So it's kind of like a strength for me. He's like my
Mm.
strength actually in the industry. So that's a blessing, I would say. And what Diana asked just now, you are actually trying to kill us or try to do good to us, Diana, with that question.
Um, we need to talk about this.
Okay,
You know,
about
Right.
the copyright and this kind of, it's very very sensitive, like what Ghazi said. You know, it's very sensitive because but like what Ghazi said just now, it belongs to the production company. Okay, it belongs to the production company, and but for me, I carry MMU, you know, with me whenever I do the project. So it's like I'm proud being an MMU staff, ex alumni, and hence I
Mhm.
think it's also a advantage for me as well. You know,
mm,
because I can
Mhm.
always, you know, get students to get involved as well in my project. So it was like it's a two-way thing. I see that as an opportunity rather than uh, what we call it. I have to be careful, Ghazi. Please help me. I look at it as more positive things, a positive side of it. I'm being
Right.
very optimistic here.
Yeah.
mm,
I think there's a lot of gray area when you talk about copyright here. When you are also an academician or working in this part, okay, in the industry. All right. When I talk about gray area, normally when I deal with small amount of project, I always mention. Okay, I always try to get cleared. Okay, I went to the office asking. Okay, how do we deal with this kind of project? Are they are I am interested or not? Okay, you said
Mhm.
that that's okay. You straight away. You just do it. Okay, and then all the skill set that you learn, okay, contribute back to the students. Okay, because there's a lot of paperwork. Instead, the paperwork alone will tiring you up. Will no will stop you from doing all the jobs. So we just continue. I continue. But when they come and see me, okay, this works very successful, and once we want some part of it, okay, no problem, give me all the papers, we sign it, I agree because I'm work with them, but they have to come. Let's say, but it's different story. Like if the project initiated by MMU, let's say every year we have a convo and animation, MMU will come up with things and they want people, we want, they want certain practitioners to contribute their effort. Of course, this the copyright is MMU's. Okay,
Yeah.
this copyright we cannot. They are the one who funding. Okay, again, and I believe also because I also applied for the entrepreneurship development center, okay,
mm,
EDC, last time where they are giving you certain amount of money for you to come up with a project. Where the idea was I did a comic with a student, we publish it. Okay, this is like a spin-off. Okay, first
mm,
I thought the copyrights belong to the company, but then the MU said that it's spin-off. This belongs to MMU. I said, oh, okay, no problem. Okay, and then it's not making a lot of money anyway. So I just saying that okay, I don't mind. Okay, I don't mind because I believe that the MMUs are giving us a lot. All right, we also learn a lot, and then we also they really support a lot to the project. But the issue is the channel. Sometimes we're unsure about what kind of channel that we need to register. Okay, there's a lot of things that we need to we need
fill in.
to okay to ready. Sometimes when I approach certain person, okay, how do I do this? Okay, you have to fill this. When I look at all the form that I need to fill, yeah, that form alone is
Oh man,
giving me a lot of
bureaucracy.
headache rather than the project itself. I said that I think that's the reason why sometimes it's not that we don't want, but it's just a matter is too many hassle that we have to deal with. Okay,
Mm.
in order for us to to share. But let's say there's a time where they say that we want you to to register all this thing. All right, okay, I think I'm okay with it, but of course, it is only my part because mine is only visual. When we talk about filmmaking, it's totally a different set of funding, different kind of things that you need to deal with. So yeah, for me, as long as the process is simpler,
Mm.
okay, if the process is simpler and there's no hassle that we have to deal with in order for us to share, okay, whatever thing that they want us to share, I have no problem with that.
What was that? What was that? The project that you did with the students again? The name of that comic compilation? Scroll.
Scrolls,
Okay. Okay.
student
Yeah.
comic. Okay, you also one of the investor.
Oh yeah. Okay. I've, I've
Actually,
heard that.
Diana, what I did for my film was that I signed an MOU with MMU. So
Mm,
I signed an MOU. So you see, like what Ghazi said, filmmaking, film production itself, it's a very expensive business, and it is expensive, and at the same time, it also has a lot of risk. It's like you are gambling, you
Mm,
know. So in that sense, I think when you sign an MMU, what MMU get in return is basically, they also share the success if we success. We don't know whether we'll be successful or not.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
like when you make a film, you don't know whether the film will be successful or not. For me, I don't know. Seriously, if you ask me how to write a successful film, I don't know.
yeah.
well,
There's no successful formula.
Vim, to be honest, it added value to MMU's branding.
Yes.
We have a lecturers who produce films that won awards. That
Yeah.
alone added value to our MMU branding. So I think you contribute a lot.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I
not in
think
terms of
that's
monetary, not in terms
yeah.
of copyright, but in terms of recognitions. All right,
So
that
that's when we signed the MMU. So the MMU is also
yeah,
part of the project.
yeah,
Mm.
right.
So, do you think that this sensitive IP issue should be relooked and reorganized so it benefits
Yeah.
both party, you as a practitioner and the institution that you're working with, rather than it becomes like a roadblock for you to progress.
Hmm.
I think there will be no roadblock if we go and talk to the right person.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you
Mm.
talk to the right person, and there will be a channel for us to do it correctly and
Yeah.
properly, and without any hindrance, no hard feelings later on. So everybody will be like sharing the cake.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. At the end of the day, both parties are happy with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I guess it's the encouraging environment that we are seeking for. Like for example, I think I'm not looking into copyrights, but grants that we receive probably is for organizing a festival, for instance. I will first tell my dean that I got this grant. I was trying to apply for it, and then I will always go back to him that because it's a festival under my festival name under University of Malaysia
Mm.
Sarawak. So at least we keep him or her in loop, then he's of the know of what we are trying to work on. And we got the grant, then we tell him, and yeah, then we will park it under the university's name,
Mm.
and
Mm.
university will receive the grant on our behalf, and they will take part of the money. I For a lot of people, they don't really see that as fair. But
Mm.
if we think it back, when we were applying the grant, actually we are somehow using the name of the university. We were using like University Malaysia Sarawak or MMU to apply that particular grant. People were somehow feeling comfortable to give the money to you because you were actually working with MMU or you were actually working with Unimas instead of because I'm Mr. Yao or someone. Unless I'm super popular out there, then people are like, oh, you okay? I give you the money, right? So I think because we are carrying that with us on our shoulders, this particular name, so I guess it's fine for me to have part of the money being taken uh, for maybe management fee or whatever they want to call it for. So and at the same time, we both parties are agreeing upon it. So we don't suddenly ask for the money or it's already consented and being
Yeah.
discussed upon all the
Yeah.
time. So yeah, I'm totally
Okay.
fine with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. I mean, the way how you mention it is the process as easy as you said it? Like, okay, like I go to my faculty and say I'm going to be part of this festival, and then whatever I gain from that, I share. I mean, I mean, could you possibly share if there was, any challenges in that in between? Like for us, like Mr. Anuar mentioned, there's lots of forms from this department to this department to this department, you know. Is it really like that in Unimas? Like,
Okay, I think yes, bureaucracy wise, I guess most of us are having that too. But I think putting that aside, once it is being legalized in that sense, like we being recognized for our contributions, it will come as a blessing that comes together under it. When they recognize you as that, like for example, you receive the grant, then they will put you under as probably they recognize as research or research industry grants. And you got the points for that. And then let's say you want to apply for exempted from coming to the office because you might want to involve in the productions or working on certain projects which was already being recognized by the university. They will just let you go. Like, okay, you would like to go as long as it doesn't affect your teaching. Yeah, go. You want to go for 1 week, 2 weeks, go, as long as you really do the things instead of you go to holiday for something else. Yeah. So I guess it's a blessing that comes along as long as it's already being recognized, legalized that, then I think a lot of positive things will come along with it.
yes.
Totally
true.
agree with you, Mr. Chong, because same, like for us also in MMU, right? When we legalize it, when you properly
No worries.
document it, and they will, they'll give you the leave, if you want to go for a shoot. I cannot be shooting 2 days and then take off and then shoot. Shooting is like one stretch, it's like 24 days, 1 month. So it's like if you do it properly and being transparent, and with your superior, I think you discuss with them, I think it will make the journey smooth.
Yes.
I
Restu
think
lah,
in a way we
restu.
are quite blessed also in MMU, just like you, Mr. Chong.
Thank you,
I
Dr. Vim. Thank you, Mr.
I'd like to add in a little bit. Oh,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Anwar, you can go first.
No, you. No, I just want to add
In
one situation where the grant is from MDEC. Okay, I want to apply it under MMU, but then MDEC said no, you cannot. It's under for the company, or if you have your own company, you can join it. If you under MMU under university, you cannot. So some of the things you have to let it go just because of you cannot go to university. There's a few grant like that. So yeah, something like just sharing. Okay, how about what we want to say, Ghazi? Sorry, cut it off.
No. I think it's about the same thing. It's whenever you apply for national grants and etc. One of the things that they look forward is like where you are from, and I've experienced like, oh, you are from an institution, they might have money. Then the grant was rejected. I also feel that it's. I mean, I agree with Dr. Vimala and Chong, Mr. Chong, and because I think that when I do work and I'm hired by MMU, the university that I'm hired with, I have this certain pride that I bring MMU's name, and I think we all agrees to that. But I just felt that there needs to be some mechanism to support the arts, because we can't, all university have their business strategy department, but they are run in a way that it's for the engineering and etc. I would love to see creative producers being part there, knowing that okay, they can run all sorts of produce artwork forms. They're well versed in producing comic books. They're well versed in making films. And if these creative producers can get, we all lecturers here, directors, we have tons of ideas. If they can pick the ideas and start selling it, getting money into MMU, using that as like perhaps a grant, or channeling it to production. I know there's a certain money that needs to be given to the university as like to pay a lot of other staff who are doing all the paperwork. We take that just like running a production company, and we produce the film, a film that is produced by MMU or whatever university. I think that can be considered as not a roadblock, but working together. So I personally felt that there is a lack of creative producers' role in universities. Yeah.
Mm. Nice. Thank you, Ghazi, for
You
adding.
should become one, Ghazi.
Yes, you should become that body that governs us
Yeah.
in that sense.
That's a
Um,
big win, isn't it? If there is such mechanism, and an MMU, I mean,
Yeah.
the brand of MMU or any institution can benefit out of that. You know, it's a big win for both the creatives and also the institution.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think at the moment, a lot of like probably you will have one deputy dean who is actually in charge of grant or research, right? I think my university and my faculty will have that. So this particular person will always seek for opportunities out there. I think this person is playing a very important role, with the hope that what he or she playing at the moment can also getting what Ghazi was saying. So this person shouldn't be only seeking, but also trying to find how can we actually fit into the grant and apply for it and possibly win that grant or get the grant.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think what Ghazi was saying is this particular person should somehow know her role or his role than trying to win that grant for the faculty members. And so the filmmakers or the artists can also use that grant to work things out from that. Mm.
To give back to the society, to contribute back, right?
I believe
Mm.
it also comes with a challenge. No, what I mean by challenge is, I believe they've tried before, but the problem that we face is the lecturers also not just doing all the creative, they're also being burdened by teaching. Okay, the numbers of teaching that
Yeah.
we need to take
Number of
hours.
hours.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
all the hours. Sometimes they have a project, they want the creative people to execute it, but then we don't have time because we've been no obligated to all the teaching, okay, all the assignments, all the hours that so I think that's a challenge for the academician or for the lecturers to facing, okay, when we have certain kind of creative project that being done, that was that was getting from from people who manage the grant, but when they want to appoint you to become people who going to execute it, you don't have time because you have to teach. Okay, there's so many. There's a lot of students you need to to consult to. So I think that the challenge is, yeah, how we going to balance that.
Mm.
All right. So that's most of the I know, not just us as a teaching. Those who were assigned us to teach also have a biggest headache how to put all these key lectures to what classes,
Mm.
based on the skill set that they have. I pity them, but actually, but anyways, yeah, that's life. We have to deal with it.
Thank you, Mr. Anwar.
Uh-huh.
I just want to take things just to a lighter level. I mean, since you mentioned that, um we're dumped with, workloads, and, assigning to a class of 100 students maybe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that probably is one of the factor that is stopping you or maybe slowing you down from making this progress in your own field. Either it's, filmmaking, or doing voice acting, or doing drawing cartoons, right? So I feel like, what is that one thing you wish you knew before stepping in to become a lecturer?
all right.
Just on a lighter note, before we
Like,
go back to the
yeah.
This is
I
not
don't
light.
think that's
Yeah.
light.
okay, or
Not
That's
light.
deep.
okay, what is that? What is that one thing you wish somebody would tell you before stepping in to the education work. Like, I mean, for me, I guess, I feel like, I feel like I need to have some share in this. um, I didn't realize that somehow the connections that you need to have with your students plays a
Mm.
big role, and the whole idea before I started pursuing into lecturing is, I do freelancing and designing, and when I come to a position where I need to teach, the speed of the students, the relationship with your students really play a role, and then the KPI of, you should have all of them graduate on time. So that is a huge pressure. That's, I wish someone would tell me that it's not just teaching what you know, it's also making sure that your students graduate, and not graduate, just graduate, but graduate on time,
GOT.
So, that's my share. Like,
All right. Let me start.
mm,
Okay. I wish. Okay. When I want to start teaching, I wish people tell me you're not just teaching. You also do all the paperwork, all the syllabus, all the calculation of, the
oh,
hours. Okay, SLTs and MQA's approval. I wish they told me that. Because teaching, I enjoy everything about teaching. Okay, looking at the student progress, looking at all this, but the paperwork, oh, it's like you keep on changing every year.
Oh yeah.
yes.
I think all of us enjoy teaching. I think
Yeah.
we enjoy teaching. Okay, so when the first thing that comes to our mind when we are offered as a job as an academic or lecturer or tutor, we thought our job is just teaching. That's what I thought, when I joined academic line in 2004. But I wish someone would have come and told me that, being an academician, these are the four baskets that you have to fulfill. Number one is teaching. Number two, you have to do research work. Number three, you have to do administration work. And number four, you have to do outreach program. These are the four things that you have to fulfill as an academician. So if they told me that, maybe I would have prepared, maybe we need time to prepare mentally.
Yeah, yeah,
So maybe we could have prepared, oh, this is what we need to prepare ourselves in order for us to become a lecturer,
hmm
an academician. So these are the things that I think if someone told me this earlier, I think I won't be complaining at my early stage. I'm not complaining now, okay, because I know the process already.
Yeah.
So when I was young, okay, when I was there, I
Mm.
used to be very rebellious,
yeah.
just like you all, I think.
Yep.
I
So,
think I share the same sentiment as Anuar and Vimala. When you first started, I mean, we all just thought, oh, teaching is teaching. But I think if I look at my personality, I am one of that person that I could just dive in blind, and then I'll just find out things along the way. It could be an unpleasant
Yeah,
experience, but you're still learning anyway. I mean, because experience doesn't have to be a good experience. I mean, you could learn a
yeah,
lot from bad experiences as well. I'm not saying that being an academician is a bad experience, but it's just one of those things like, man, I have no idea paperwork is like this, you know? And then you've got colleagues, right? Because the fact that you're not doing this alone, and then you just learn things along the way. And I think
yeah,
that's probably how I learn things along the way, taking that leap of faith, and then
yeah,
absorb things along the way.
yeah,
Because if you wanted to if I were to be like that kind of person, where if I want to be ready before I dive into things,
yeah.
if you
You
ask me, there's no such thing as you're
ready?
being ready
Yeah,
100%. Because if you want to be like 100% ready, you're probably not going to do anything for
do
the next
anything.
50 years.
Yeah,
So for me, taking that leap of faith, I think it has been one of the best decisions of my life.
yeah.
I would like
yeah.
to share this, what my mom used to tell me. I was very, very stressful when I was tutor, when I just started my career as
Hmm.
a educator. So it was very, very stressful because I have a lot of paperwork. I have research to do. I have to complete my master, so many things that I have to think. I have to teach. I have to prepare the modules and so on. And one thing about creative industry is that um, our syllabus, it keeps changing. The things that we teach, it changes over time. It's like the technology changes. You have to change your
Mm.
syllabus. You we don't have one textbook that we follow blindly. You have to improve yourself from time to time. So that is creative industry, because it's very organic. It keeps changing. So I asked my mom, I'm so stressful, ma, I cannot concentrate. And I was like, I was almost, I wanted to give up. So let me just quit. Then my mom told me, if you want to do something, you want to get a job done, give it to the busiest person. If you give it to someone who's not doing anything, he or she will not get it done for you. Give it to the busiest person. So what I learned from there is that keep yourself busy. If you are
Yeah.
busy doing stuff, doing things, you will get it done much
Mm.
more faster than those who are not doing anything.
I think this
So
goes to
always keep
everyone.
yourself busy.
Yeah. Busy is good. That's
Yeah.
what I would tell everyone. Busy is
Yes.
good.
Just keep ourselves busy, do something. So now, right now, if I'm free, right, I'll get very scared. I get paranoid, why I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, like on my end, if I could relate to my line of work right now, if I'm not busy, that means I'm not earning, which means I can't earn, which means I can't pay my bills. There you go.
Yeah.
So the
Nice.
moral of the story, keep
Okay.
ourselves busy all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
I wish I was told that working as academicians or in the university, your working hours is not confined to 8 to 5 or 9 to 6.
Oh yeah.
A lot of time, our working hours are actually exceeding that. I would carry my works back. At the night time, I will still be working on preparing for the class tomorrow. And during COVID time, our working hours are all very, very, very different.
Yeah.
We cannot compare that to teachers. I believe teachers are also carrying their works back
Yeah.
now. They have a lot of things to do. So that is the first thing. I think I'm very blessed that my lecturer had already reminded me about being a lecturer. You need to do community work, you need to do consultation, and many other things like research and publication. The second thing that I wish I am being told was taking good care of ourselves in terms of well-beings. I observe a lot of lecturers after certain age, like 40 and above, a lot of them actually falling sick, either got cancer, diabetes, high blood pressures, and things like that, due to the stress that they are working at. I would say our jobs are actually very, very demanding that took away a lot of our well-being, our health particularly. So I try my very best now. I will every day I will do 30 minutes of some exercises and things like that. I have a break of times for things like these, meditations or headspace kind of thing. Yeah, I really hope this is a good reminder to ourselves.
Oh yeah.
We are not being hired to work as a robot, but yeah, as a humans, we take time for ourselves to rest and be fulfilling at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that advice and reminder for all of us. I guess it's true. Sometimes we do work overtime. Not. I mean, there's the teaching part, and then going back, there's the marking part, and then there's the consulting part, and then there's the doing the syllabus part, and then you need to structure the course part and everything in. So, I mean, is it safe to say that would it be nice to have the requirement to come up with publication or attend conferences or securing grants, especially for the creative field, the creative departments or faculty, to maybe lower down uh, the the requirement part? Since I mean, we are partly doing our creative work on the side, so I guess would it be safe to say it's nice to maybe lower down that publication research part? It's not that we don't want to do. We probably we
Yeah.
probably give in and still do it,
Yeah.
but probably lower down a bit the level so that it's easier for us to be relevant as practitioners and also fulfill the institution KPI, to fulfill the ranking itself.
I think it will be harder for your colleagues in either in MMU to say something about this. Because in the end of the day, your bosses are watching. Probably they will say, oh, wow, we're talking something like that. I'm not sure if my boss is watching at the moment, but I think communication process is very important in order for us to come to a standard that we agree upon. Like that is the evaluations that they are evaluating us. I think we always need that communications. It's not that we demand or we ask for, okay, please reduce the weightage for research and publication. That's only from our side. But from their side, they also need to fulfill certain KPI that the Ministry of Higher Education are imposed on them. So I think we really need to sit down on that and seeing how I learned one thing from a very good colleagues of mine, my good friends in the university is she will always look for something that she's passionate about one thing, and second things, that particular thing will allow her to achieve several other things under the KPI. So yeah, she for examples, in order for her to get the grant and then publish, because it always come together. So what she taught me and she shared with me, which we were working together, was we write together on the topics that we are really wanted to write about. We brainstorm and write about it. Then we publish that. Then upon the publication, we go for the grant. Because otherwise, you will be super stressed because after you got the grant, you didn't able to publish. And they will chase after you because you didn't publish. So what I learned from that particular process is you know write something that you are passionate about, then you publish it in things that you publish that, and you try to get a grant that you can help to park that publication under, so you can do the reverse engineering, so called.
Would you say work on something that you really love and then at the same time collaborate? Would you say that?
Yes, you collaborate. And since you know that I have to publish, and my colleagues and I are working together on the publications. We write together and we publish that only we do the reverse engineering of getting the grant, because a lot of people go and get the grant first, then they will be chased after, why don't you publish yet, after 2 years the publication is yet to be out, then you cannot close the grant, for instance, and a lot of consequences will come because of that. So I learned from this process is, the game, and how can you actually play the game better. And hopefully we can also always sit down with these stakeholders of the higher up to have the discussions. I think a healthy communication between these are very much needed. A lot of time they will just organize like how to call it, sumbang saran or something like that to tell you what is their KPI. So at that time, I think we need to have a platform that is a healthy, happy platform that you can talk freely and they are not offended because what you think. I think we are very much in need of this kind of arena and platform.
Thank you, Mr. Chong.
I can say something. It's very difficult for us to say, like Mr. Chong says, that our bosses are looking at us. But I like to share my own personal experience holding the position for Deputy Dean Research. And I thought, when they asked me, can you be the Deputy Dean Research, I told myself that, okay, just dive in, look at the problem. Let the practitioner perhaps give a point of view. And then within this very short, I'm very new to this Deputy Dean Research. I realized one thing. I realized that everybody seems to be living in this fear of KPI. And I totally agree with Mr. Chong, because, we cannot run away from KPI, because the moment a university hires someone, the total number of papers research needs, increase. It's a requirement. But instead of writing something like what Dr. V has said, we are doing something that we like. Instead of writing something that we like, everybody is just writing something because they have to. So I think this whole idea, I try to have one-on-one session with my colleagues, trying to understand one thing. What do you really like? So if you really like poetry, then go and publish one book. I mean, let's not talk about scopus. Let's just produce one book just on your, poetry collection, and we begin from there. So I think there needs to be a reset. I may not be the best person to say this. It may be not a formula, but this is just for my humble opinion, observation. I think perhaps a reset to put behind, stop it a little bit for a small time. Ask all our staff, what do you really like? And when they do that, ask them to take baby steps. When they do take baby steps, they themselves will realize that, wow, from a simple book of poetry, I can do a KTP, knowledge transfer program. I can teach, kids on how to do poetry. I can finally, I find a problem in poetry in Malaysian society, I can write a paper. But before forcing them to do, maybe perhaps management and our staff, there's no one right or wrong, but this communication can be better if we break the fear of KPI.
I totally agree with what Ghazi said. We are really in need of these kind of communications between the so-called higher up to understand what the staff really love. And then when they know their patients and they, oh, wow, my patients are being appreciated because I love songs or because I love indie music. Yeah, then you can start with something like that. And slowly you publish probably one lyrics and then to the others and you write an analysis about it. So it becomes something bigger. We don't expect someone to publish a scopus paper right away. I think it's super taxing for a new graduate who just joined the university to publish a lot of papers. I think, yeah, to publish one or two papers because they just graduated and they just learned on how to teach. They just started to prepare the materials for teaching, and now you want them to publish. It's like a lot of things.
Aziz's point on this fear of KPI, right? I mean, if I could reminisce my time during when I was in MMU, it's not just this fear of KPI. Is this whole thing of this daunting task of we talked about it earlier in this session, academic writing. So a lot of people tend to associate KPI and academic writing. So a lot of let's say the new guys or maybe us creatives who wish to express our work in our own creative way, and then we will all have this pride of I'm a creative, I don't write, a kind of mentality. So we sort of need to and then we go back to Mr. Yao and then saying this whole thing about collaboration. So I think that I mean, back in my day, I mean, I still wish I would know more people who could help out with academic writing. I think we need to be friends more with people who have this passion of academic writing. Yeah, you have your passion in say like poetry, comics, films, and I think you just got to be best friends with someone who knows how to write academically. So this sometimes being in being in a creative domain, being a creative, sometimes we tend to keep to ourselves. Oh, the animation with the animation guys, the film with the film guys, the comic guy with the comic guys. I think this is just based on my observation because I know I was kind of like an antisocial kind of guy. I was like, oh, I mean, with the animation guys. So I just wish that during my time I would open up myself to, hey, anyone knows how to write academically? I need help, and then we could just collaborate from there. Yeah, it's things that I would say I wish I would have done. You know.
I wish, yeah, I wish it was that easy because I remember my journey when I was, venturing into the publication. I have no clue of what the template is, and then the journal, and then it's part of graduating my master's. I need to publish to a journal or at least submit. So the whole thing is a new realm on its own.
A whole new beast, if you would say.
Exactly. And there were certain points where I was discouraged. Maybe I shouldn't be teaching because I cannot do academic writing. There was certain days I feel like that. So, but I mean, as Dr. Vim mentioned, you learn through the process, and then you get used to it, and now you get to see the other side of being an academic or being an academician, and I guess that's the what you need to be. It's the whole package. Yeah, you cannot get one
Uh,
side without the other, right? All right.
Sometimes,
Hmm.
no, sometimes it's just the life that we choose. We we are into this, and then somehow we realize that this is thing that we have to do, and along the way, like what Mr. Azman said, is like a leap of faith. Just learn along the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
All right. So I'm off to my last question before I maybe allow Ghazi to wrap up our session. So my last question is: in 5 years' time, what kind of change you like to see in
Good question.
yeah
In what? In 5 years' time?
yeah in five
What would we
what
what?
what what type, what kind of changes would you like to see in the academic world?
5 years time, I
Hmm.
already retired.
Itu lagi penting dan
No worries. Okay, continue.
Yeah, this is probably a utopian world. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if it will even exist. If we're talking about a school or an institution, doesn't matter, a place where people come to learn something that is considered creative. If things can be less rigid, okay, what I mean by that is that if, let's just say, if I were to enter a class by Dr. Vim or Ghazi or Anwar, and everyone would have their own domain. If that itself, I mean, you enter that person's class because of their expertise, and then the project could be, you collaborating with the teacher, or being part of a project that he's already working in the particular industry. If there could be like an organic way of measuring the student's journey, you know in becoming part of the creative world, then that would be great, because I feel that when a student enters a school or a university or institution, their career starts there. I mean, sometimes this is something that I realized towards the end of my teaching career, where I feel that the student is, when they enter, they're not just student, they're actually building their life, they're actually building their journey there and then. So I think they should be involved from the get-go, from the moment they enter in the university or the place where they're about to learn everything. I just wish that I hope there will be a time where things are so organic when it comes to measuring their journey. When they graduate, oh yeah, they could be graduating whatever, but I don't know. It's a utopian world. Maybe there already exists, I'm not aware of, but yeah, that's something that I hope, or I wish, could happen.
okay, how about Dr. Vim, Mr. Anuar, Mr.
I think
Chong?
Dr. Wim first. I still have no idea what I
Anwar is
want to
already
see in
retired, you
5 years.
can't.
My aspiration, this would be quite, I mean, a little study, right? Will be regarded as a serious field of study, just like engineering
Yeah,
or medical line and so on. Because as of now, right, if you're holding a camera, you can become a photographer. People have that perception, is like anybody can become a photographer, anybody can become a filmmaker. You don't have
yeah,
to go through a proper study to become a filmmaker or a cartoonist. So I wish that there will be a day whereby this creative industry, people see it as a serious industry. We are having fun doing our work, but at the same time, it is a serious business, just like any other profession.
yeah.
So this is my wish.
I share that wish too, Vim.
Okay.
Okay, if let's say in the creative area, okay, in terms of recognition, in terms of we've been exhibit or being showing our work in the gallery, in the international gallery, we already have this kind of recognitions to the field that we are good at it. Okay, it's just a matter of whether we have to put ourselves a challenge to challenge with all the people who are top there. Yeah, how we can achieve what they achieve. So in 5 years, I have a very humble thing. Okay, in 5 years, I just want to see, okay, my students successful, make a change in the industry, revolutionize in the industry. Okay, I think I'm in the, I don't know. It's hard to say that I'm already comfortable with my life. It's just a matter of uh, I enjoy life more rather than I have to put myself into all this pressure. Okay, if let's say I been given a paperwork, okay, to be completed with. Okay, there's a lot of thing that we do. Okay, what the first thing that I will do is I will find the best people who know how to do it, and I'll sit next to him and I learn from him. Okay, because I'm not the type who knows how to figure out things based on authority. I will sit down. So I try to find ways, the easiest way for me to work. Okay, all right. So in term of personal, okay, myself, uh I want to be recognized as a same level as Datuk Lat, you know, all the people who are an iconic or legend in Malaysians, okay, and also being recognized. But I have two people who I admire most. One is Datuk Lat, and the other one is Professor Mulyadi. One is practitioner, and the other one is tokoh academic, okay, a
Mhm.
researcher. Okay, I have both. I have both as my, as my inspirations. Okay, in fact, my research been guided a lot by Dr. Prof. Mulyadi. Okay, he helped me a lot on research. So I have these people who help me a lot in knowing where to go in practice area and where to go in research area. Okay, so I think I already know the thing. The only thing that I wish, okay, in the area I'm working with, everything need to be to make it simpler. Okay, there's a way how we don't overcomplicate things. Okay, we make it simplified, all the thing that need to be simplified, because sometimes I know there's a thing can be done easily, but they are trying to make our life harder, try to complicate all the process, okay, in order for us to justify whatever every single details that we do. So I think if it can be simplified but it's still working, I think it should be enough. Sometimes because now we're living in the digital era where everything can be, it can be digitized, can be simplified, okay, and then you look at the most successful product or successful apps is the one who's simple, not the one who's the most complicated. Okay, and even the fast food, okay, the most, okay, the fast, okay, even the food industry, the fast food, the simple things in life which people can easily relate to compared to all the complicated things. So I think I just wish, okay, there's a time that we can simplify all the things that we do here rather than complicate. Yeah, but I don't know all the details. Because I don't want to complex. Okay, I don't want to do over thinking about all those things. Right? That's on my wish. Okay.
Actually, Diana, I like what Anwar said just now. He have certain people that inspired him. Like for me, I always believe that all of us should have a mentor in our
Oh
personal
yeah.
growth. We should have a mentor because
Yeah.
the reason being is because if we fall right, we know that we are falling the right way, even when we fall. No, so having a mentor is definitely a good. Uh, it's not a good practice. It's something that we should have.
Yeah.
Have a
Yeah.
good mentor
Yeah.
so we know that we are going at the right path. Even though we fail, we know that we are at the right path.
Nicely said.
Yeah. I mean, mentor. I mean, it is if you ask me, Vim, it's not necessarily of someone of a teacher stature. I think it can be the same as being in the same sort of group of people
Mhm.
with the same aim and same aspiration. I think being in that sort of group. I mean, because you can mentor each other, of course, but being in that sort of
Yep,
crowd would help as well.
yep. Not necessarily someone who's very old and wise. If
The
we
one with the
see
Yeah.
white
someone
Yeah.
who
beard.
inspire you, you know that. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Mr.
Okay.
Chong?
All right.
All right.
I think 5 years is actually a very long time. Like looking back of my teaching of 10 years, it's just like about half of the decades to come to the next 5 years. I I think a better world that we are living in. I think that is a simple. It sounds like a very simple things that I wish for. That appreciate who we are. Let's say we are an artist and we contribute as an artist, but at the same time, we become more adaptive to change. Really, the change is happening so quickly now
True.
that we never know. Like 10 years ago, our student, when they are in, they might not be so much watching Netflix, but now they are watching Netflix and they are on TikTok and they watch video of TikTok more than the film that they watch, I believe. So we as educator, I think we should be more adaptive to the change, and and as an institution also understand this change is also happening. So I guess we want to learn to be more adaptive to change, and yeah, at the same time appreciate who we are and learn with the change as well. Yeah. Thank you.
For me, I think that I share the same personal aspiration, hope, like Dr. V. I hope that one day the arts domain is not just a wallflower, but I also feel that, you know, it's not just the academia's responsibility, it's not just the management responsibility, it's everybody's responsibility. You know, I come from practitioners, totally a world in the industry, and then suddenly jump into, in the industry we were celebrating each other, but when I came to academia, I'm mixing with a lot of other domains, and then I'm starting to realize that, hey, nobody is celebrating my work, and everybody needs to start continuing, not having roadblocks. We cannot be saying that, oh, we are not recognized, thus we stop doing work. The only way for us to be recognized is to create more works and to help them see that our works are worth to be recognized. And one day, maybe in 5 or 10 years, Malaysia can be, our education system recognizing art can be as advanced as many other nations. Like, when you're talking about art being appreciated in education, we talk about Australia, we talk about US, UK. One day we can come out with an instrument, we can come out with a committee, whatever it is, where art is being seen as important as many other domains.
Yeah.
Nicely said. Okay. Thank you very much for all the wonderful answers. I believe we have reached to the end of the talk, the roundtable talk. I believe we have discussed and learned new perspective from our honorable panels today. I am definitely honored and humbled by this opportunity to be able to discuss. And I hope we can have more of this kind of discussions in the future.
Sure.
Yeah. So till then, I guess thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank
every
you.
panel. Thank you, Mr. Chong. Thank you, Mr. Azman. Thank you, Ghazi. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr.
Thank you for
having
inviting us.
us.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Dr.
you for
V.
having us.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Are you recording this?
Let me see. Tamim, are you recording this? He should be. He should be.